Hello, in this video we're looking at Dhammapada, chapter 6, Pandita Vaggo, verse 8, that is verse number 83 in the straight-through consecutive numbering. Now I will read this to you. Sabbattave sappurisa chajanti nakama kama lapayanti santo sukhena putta attva dukkhena na uchavacham pandita dasayanti. Sappurisa, sorry, I'll read it through again with the with now a shared screen. There we are. Sappurisa, in Sanskrit, Satpurusha, good people. Sabbattave, the ve here is just an emphatic enclitic particle. So everywhere indeed. Sappurisa chajanti. It's from the Sanskrit root term tyaj. Let me call up the Sanskrit tyaj, class 1 verb, tyajanti, they renounce or let go, which then becomes by regular mutation chajanti in Pali. What is the connection or the difference between the roots tyaj and ha meaning to abandon or let go, often appearing in the form praha, of course in Pali, paha. They both mean to abandon or let go, but there is a difference of usage, and quite an important difference of usage. Normally, there's a certain amount of overlap between them, but normally this root paha, praha, is to do with abandoning evil things, things that everybody should abandon, something that is inherently immoral or wrong in generally. Whereas tyaj, tyajati, it makes the verbal noun in Sanskrit tyaga, and in Pali, as we'd expect, chaga. That is more renunciation in the sense of renouncing something for your, like giving things up for Lent. It's not giving up something that's inherently bad or sinful, but it's giving up what you might call a to use Christian terminology, a non-sinful pleasure, simply to renounce it permanently or temporarily for your practice. So that's the difference in tone between those two those two words. So good men, sappurisa, good people, sabbattave, everywhere indeed chajanti, are renounce things. In other words, they can choose the path of not taking a particular delight or pleasure, voluntarily renouncing it. Nakama kama lapayanti santo. Santo is another. It's the more Sanskritized form of the present participle sant. If you see the note that I have done to this video, or to this verse, I've given you references to the way that that this santo occurs. I've given you references to what it is in Sanskrit and why it is that, and the two alternative Pali versions. It could have been Pali could have had santa as well as santo. Santo is the more Sanskritized version from the Sanskrit santa, santo, whereas the Pali could have treated as an akaranta shabda, just an ordinary verb and adjective or noun ending in a short a, which could have been singular would have been santa, nominative santo, and the plural would have been santa. In Pali, they're both equally correct. But I do recommend that you follow up these references that I've given in the notes for a full understanding of that. Here, karma in both is used, the karma, it's the same karma used as a compound, but in slightly different senses. One meaning of the word karma is a sensual pleasure, and the other meaning is a desire. So karma would mean then here a desire for sensual pleasure, just out of a desire for pleasure. And the here is the ablative of cause. So karma, that would be kamat, ending with a t in Sanskrit, is the ablative of cause, meaning out of a desire for sensitive pleasure. Lapayanti, there's the root lap, which means chattering away, and it's an inherently somewhat pejorative meaning. It suggests kind of idle chatter rather than wise speech. Lepati, to chatter away. The class 10 form of it, Sanskrit lapayati, Pali more commonly lapeti, but you can also have lapayati. The class 10 here has a causative form, in other words, to get people chattering, to get the chatter going. So the santo, the good people, nakamakama lapayanti, don't get chatter going out of a desire for kama, a desire for pleasure. Sukhena putta atva dukhena. We almost always see dukhena spelled with a double k. Let me call up the iPad again. So in Sanskrit, dukkha, and in Pali, by regular phonetic mutation, dukkha, that's the spelling we're used to seeing, you do occasionally find dukkha. It's not standard, and I don't recommend that you use it, but you will occasionally see it in poetry. And here it seems that the poet wanted a short syllable there rather than a long one. If there'd been a double K, it would have made a heavy syllable, dukkena. He wanted a light syllable, laghu, so that's why he made it a single K. So, putta, touched. It's from the Sanskrit root, Vedic root, sprish. Here we are, sprish, meaning to touch, which is incidentally cognate with our English word sprinkle, and the Latin aspergere, to sprinkle with water. And in English we have aspersions. If you cast aspersions, it means you're like throwing muck at them. You're scattering muck at them, and some will stick. That's the imagery behind aspersions. There's the same root as sprish. In Sanskrit, in Latin, also in English, it had the more specialized meaning of to touch somebody with a scattered or sprayed liquid. But in Sanskrit, it is a much more general meaning of just to touch. So the sprishati, it's a class 6 verb, by the way, so not sparshati, but sprishati in Sanskrit, which by standard phonetic mutation becomes pusati in Pali, so literally to touch. And the past participle in Sanskrit, sprishta, which then again by phonetic mutation becomes putta in Pali. Note that the subdotted r vowel, which doesn't exist in Pali, will in Pali turn up as an a, I, or u. And what it turns up as will largely depend on the adjacent, most often the preceding adjacent consonant. So if that consonant is a labial, a p, the vowel will tend to take on the form of that labial, pu, rather than pa or pi. So pu, so pusati, putta, demonstrates all the standard rules of phonetic mutation from Sanskrit to Pali. So sukhena, putta, touched, affected, touched by, sukhena, by pleasure, atava, or dukhena, or pain. Whether they are touched by pleasure or pain, and the putta is an adjective in the masculine nominative plural to agree with pandita, which is the subject of this verb, the pandita, masculine nominative plural. Pandita, the wise men, na dasayanti uchavacham. They do not show or demonstrate uchavacham, ucha avacha, high, low. They don't demonstrate that they're elated or dejected. They don't show any ups and downs. In other words, they remain really equanimous, even-minded, if touched by pleasure and pain. This word dasayanti, they show. Did I do a note on it? Yes. So drish, the root drish, to see, from which we get the present tense form from the different root pashyati in Sanskrit, pasati in Pali. Causative, or class 10, used with a causative sense, darshayati, Pali daseti or dasayati, literally to cause somebody to see something, to make somebody see it, which is the verb simply to show, because if you show something, you are causing somebody else to see it. That's the meaning of to show, or make visible, manifest, or display, make a display of. So they do not cause to see uchavacham, they don't make a display of uchavacham, high and low. Uchavacha is a compound, it's a contrastive compound, or contrastive dvandva compound of ucha, meaning high, and avacha, an adjective meaning low, together high-low, which exactly reflects our English expression, ups and downs, highs and lows, is just done by this combination of high and low as a neuter singular. Notice this is a neuter singular, more or less a fixed expression, uchavacham, high and low. So I'll read it. So they, touched by happiness or misery, the wise men do not show. The translate Skelton Crosby variation, ups and downs, ups and downs. So I'll read this through again. Sabbattave sappurisa jajanti, nakama kama lapayanti santo, sukhena putta atava dukhena, na uchavacham pandita dasayanti. And that concludes this video.